And I've made a selection, a highlight of several very important issues, at least from our perspective. And I want to share what do young people think about some key trends and challenges. Let me start with regional cooperation. Do you? Okay. The first question is, do you agree that regional cooperation can contribute to the political, economic, or security situation in your society? 52, in general, this is the general answer from all groups. 52% tend to agree, 22 totally agree, which means 74% of people in Southeast Europe, yes, they do think that regional cooperation is important. When it comes to youth, I have divided it in two categories. We have respondents from 18 to 24 years of age, and we have from 25 to 34, which we still consider as youth. More or less the answers are the same, so 53 tend to agree, 19% totally agree, which means overwhelming majority of youth in the region think that regional cooperation is important. Do you feel welcome abroad when you are traveling to other cities in the region, in the Western Balkans? 51% of youth between 18 and 24 said, yes, we do feel. 20% they feel welcome in some cities and unwelcome in some other, which is also quite an interesting, and then I'm also referring here to reconciliation and what we can do in this respect. But again, I think that this is a very positive, optimistic number. Overall, 51% of youth people think that they're feeling welcome in other capitals in the Western Balkans region. How satisfied are you with the way things are going in your economy? When we say economy, this is RCC drafting guidelines. Due to some open bilateral issues in the region, we do not use the term country, but economy. So how satisfied are you with the way things are going in your country? 51% in total are mostly unsatisfied or completely dissatisfied. These are the responses from young people between 18 and 24. 52% when it comes of the second group, 25 to 34 years of age. So more than 50% of young people in the region are dissatisfied with the way how things are going in their countries. How satisfied are you with the economic situation in your country? 23% are completely dissatisfied, while 33% mostly dissatisfied. The second group is even worse. 33% are completely dissatisfied and 30% are mostly dissatisfied. So it's not just about reconciliation, it's about economy as well. What do you think are the two most important problems facing your country? 49% have said, and 50% respectively have said, it's unemployment. 20% goes to economic cooperation situation and 10% to corruption. So for 50% of youth in the region, unemployment is the most important issue. Let me show you a few figures on youth unemployment in the Western Balkans. As you probably may know, the Regional Cooperation Council is in charge of implementation of the so-called MAPREA, Multi-Annual Action Plan for Regional Economic Integration, and we do have some solid statistics on new jobs that have been opened in the region. So 700,000 new jobs were created in the last 7 years in the region, but only 4.3% of these jobs were taken up by youth under 24 years of age, only 4.3%. Youth employment rate is 19.7%. In the European Union, it's almost double, 35.4%, and vice versa. Unemployment in the Western Balkans is more than 35% in 2018, whereas the EU average youth unemployment is 15.2%. $240,000 youth aged between 15 and 24 are unemployed, but they are actively looking for a job in the region. 240,000. Over the past 7 years, only 10% of young people, or over 70,000 aged 15 to 24, has neither been a job nor looking for one. So 10%. On the preferences, where do young people want to work? They always choose public sector. They would prefer to work in the public administration or governmental agencies. So almost half, or 49% of youth would choose to work in public sector. On the question why, because they think that it's more secure. The job is more secure compared to the private sector. This is also, from our point of view, a discouraging number, and we have to work on this and to support youth to enter private sector as much as possible. Also, some interesting data from Balkan Barometer. Young people between 18 and 34 believe that the government should invest more in social infrastructure, in science and technology, unlike other groups of respondents who said that they will prioritize industrial development. So youth are looking for social infrastructure, science, education, technology. As we have said earlier, they are mostly concerned by unemployment and corruption. 30% of young people in the region, aged between 25 and 34, are not satisfied with the skills provided by the education system. 1/3. 36% were required either to learn new or advance existing skills, which mostly go to digital literacy or foreign language at their job in the past 12 months. So they have asked to go through additional qualification in order to keep the job. What do you think is the most important thing for getting ahead in life? 29% said having a good education, young people between 18 and 24. 24% say working hard. And again, 24% knowing the right people. When you ask the second, so to say, youth category from 25 to 34, their first answer is 28% knowing the right people, with 26 working hard and 22 having a good education. So young people up to 24, they think that having a good education is the most important issue, while a bit older generation, they do say that knowing the right people is the most important thing for getting advanced ahead in a life. Do you think that EU membership would be a good thing, a bad thing, or neither good or bad, nor bad for your economy, for your country. 61% of youth people overall in the region think, yes, EU membership is good for my country. Overall, the number is 56% in the region, so youth are much more, supportive to the EU perspective. However, in the answers, why do you think so, they mostly associate it with increased opportunities to travel, study, and work abroad. These are the three main reasons why they think that EU membership is good. This is the one when, if you open our website, you will see only answers in general. When I got this data from my assistants, I didn't sleep. Let me be very, very frank. It is very discouraging. Would you consider living and working abroad? In general, 40% of the population in the Western Balkans want to live and work abroad. 40% of the total population. When it comes to youth, 18 to 24 years of age, 62% said yes. I do consider to live and work abroad. 62%. So as I've said, just a short clarification on the methodology. We have 823 young people between 18 and 24. 823 respondents out of 6,000 from the region. And we have around 1,200 between 25 and 34, which means out of total 6,000 people interviewed in the region, around 2,000 are youth. The second category, 25 to 34, 60%, they said also yes. We are considering to live and work abroad. And the older you get, the number is decreasing. Between 35 and 44, 48%, which is significantly less than previous two categories. So again, 62% of young people are thinking to leave the country. And we have to do whatever necessary. This is an alarming data. This is official Eurostat statistics for 2018. And one could imagine that majority of these people, of these numbers, are young people. In total, 228,000 nationals from the Western Balkans emigrated legally into the European Union in 2018. The trends, we still do not have the official data for 2019, but are even worse, at least if we can trust to national statistical offices of the countries in the Western Balkans. 2.2% or 62,000 people from Albania have left last year. 24,300 from Macedonia, North Macedonia, which is 2.1%. 34,500 from Kosovo, which is also 2%. 53,000 from Bosnia and Herzegovina, 1.5% of the overall population. 51,000 from Serbia, or 1.3%, and the last 3,000 from Montenegro. 2% on annual basis. Within our security cooperation, which in RCC falls under political department, we used to have a so-called community dialogue with youth in the region. Why do I say security cooperation? We're also looking from another perspective, from another angle, when it comes to radicalization and violent extremism. So this is just as an extra info. A lot of people who have never traveled to any foreign battlefield are getting radicalized nowadays in the Western Balkans. Youth people, predominantly online. They don't have a job, they don't have what to do, they're sitting 24 hours 7 on the internet. They have been approached by charismatic, trained persons. I don't know whether they are imams or good communicators. And they used to start with a good narrative and then talking about other issues and getting young people radicalized. People who have never fought or traveled at any foreign battlefield before. There are a number of also youth people, which is indeed a very concerning trait, especially in 4 economies in the region, I would say Bosnia, Kosovo, North Macedonia, Albania. They're joining Gulf state-sponsored NGOs, charity organizations, so-called. Of course, at the first stance, they are do it for living. They're well paid, 400, 500 euros for young men, fair enough. And slowly but surely, they're getting radicalized and used to spread this voice around. And we have an extensive debate with youth people in this respect in the region. And we do openly ask them, okay, what do you think? What are your hopes? What are your fears? What would you like to do when getting older? These are the most common answers which we get. First, total apathy, distrust, grievance, dissatisfaction of how things are going in their societies or in their countries. Corruption, rule of law. They feel excluded, they feel marginalized. They feel that nobody is listening to them. They say, nobody cares what do we think, what about our hopes, about our fears. Everybody used to say youth, but no one is implementing anything important for us. No one is asking, what do we think? We are not just part of the problem, but we are also part of the solution. They also feel that employment is not done on merit-based basis. They have extremely low trust in institutions. And they want better education. So again, this is the most common answers which we get from Western Balkans 6 youth, looking from a security perspective. In terms of political engagement, also apathy is widespread among Western Balkans youth. 42% say they don't care at all. 42%. They don't care at all. They don't want to actively participate or engage with government institutions. So going back to my opening remarks, as I've mentioned, we have got a project from the European Commission, European Union, funded within the framework of IPA 2 2014-2020, which falls under IPA Multi-Country 2019. So European Commission has decided to support Western Balkans youth with a project worth 4.7 million in total. Overall objectives are to contribute to reconciliation by increasing regional cooperation, better opportunities for youth to be involved into decision-making process, and creating favorable conditions for better future for young people in the region. The target group of the project is national and local authorities, schools, civil society organizations, and of course, young people. We will get in total 1.5 out of 4.7 million as of January 2020, and we will work on 2 issues. Policy dialogue between young people and policymakers from relevant institutions, and second, to support in full integration of youth policy labs into ongoing regional development policies, which contribute to reconciliation by increasing regional cooperation. We will closely cooperate in the implementation of this project with RICO, European Training Foundation, European Commission Joint Research Center, and UNICEF. Of course, as I've said, we stand ready also to work closely with you and with youth initiatives from the region and to see what we can do. Before I close, I just also want to welcome Friedrich Ebert study, Friedrich Ebert Stiftung comprehensive study, which has been published earlier this year. And we have to take also into account their main recommendations for action into our policies. And we have already had a meeting in Sarajevo, and we will be closely working with them in the course of next year and in the years to come. There are some issues, again, which falls under reconciliation. Ethno-nationalism, 56% of youth would like to live in a mono-ethnic state, and so on and so forth. I'll stop here, and I think I've been provocative enough, and with this not very encouraging data, unfortunately. Thank you.
Yes, actually, I'm not scrolling on Facebook. I'm just looking at the questions that participants are having. So I'm watching all of your questions. Sadly, I can only take the short ones at this moment, and the ones that are having a statement, we will offer you the floor to actually ask it and have your ideas on the things. But there was one interesting question that I really liked. If most people realize that cooperation is important for development, then why their representatives do not foster the idea? Does radicalism win? And we had a question about the participants want a clarification in the sense of youth radicalization. So what does it mean about charity organizations that are out there? What did you mean with those statements?
Thank you. I don't think that radicalism wins at the end of the day. But we should also have a look at the silence of governmental institutions and to spark action as soon as possible. On radicalization, I mean, it's a broader perspective. You have, for example, an NGO who is established to support policies for young people. But behind the stage, they want to support some other kind of politics for young people, either spreading ideology, either preparing them to travel abroad, or to disseminate at home as much as possible these new radical ideologies. I mean, we could talk with hours on this important subject, but again, the main entry point is a good salary at the very beginning, and then they start to work, and then they will ask him, would you be so kind to bring your friends for a coffee, and they will try to explain what the ideology as they perceive it is all about, and they slowly but surely are cooking the meat around and spreading the voice around.
Just short question about the methodology of the research. If you could clarify how the research was done, and then we can move on with Ms. Ivana Tufegdzic.
It's not done by RCC. We are paying for it. We are commissioning it. It's done this year, I think, by GfK. There is a public call, which is a renowned PR consultancy company. So in total, 6,000 people from the region have been interviewed. We have two Balkan barometers. One is public sentiment satisfaction survey, and the second one is business sentiment, which means 6 public figures and 6,000 businessmen from the region. Again, they are divided among categories. You have between 18 and 24, 1,000 people, another 1,000 people between 24 and 35, and then from 35 to 44, and so on and so forth. So in total, 12,000 people, 6 public citizens from the region, and 6,000 businessmen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Popov, for the insight.